to the Countdown. I'm your Countdown host, MJ Book, back for another episode here in the world of the Countdown. Hope everybody's doing good right now. Right now, just kind of chilling here in the 123 studios. Sorry for the slight delay in getting the next episode up, but just kind of got a little busy. Started, got a little ill, a little bit. And by ill, the illness was lazy. But we're able to get this done finally, and it's good to be back here at the 123 Studios, put together another episode. Now, I know I still need to finish up my 80s, and I still plan on doing that, but I am taking a little break because I went pretty kind of balls to the walls and knocking back-to-back episodes of those, and I'm enjoying the little break. And it was a nice departure with Freak in that last episode doing a video games countdown, because finally it was something different than movies, which I'd been doing so many times in a row, and I love doing those, and trust me, still got a bunch of those to do, have not forgotten. However, the departure is nice, and why not continue to the departure? So this one will not be dealing with the movie industry. This one will stay in video games. So I have another video game countdown I'm doing for you. Freak and I counted down our favorite Super Nintendo games, which was interesting. Definitely urge you to listen or watch that episode. I knew he would come up with some interesting games, and he certainly did. However, some of those games for me that I picked, some of these are games I haven't played in 15, 20 years. They just stuck out on the brain. So a lot of them just weren't fresh in the head. But these will, because today I'm counting down my favorite PlayStation 4 games. Now, PlayStation 4, we're finally leaving that behind us, but still play enough PlayStation 4 where it's not forgotten, because some of those games can get uploaded to PlayStation 5, and there's some that are not, that I still actively play on PlayStation 4. So PlayStation 4 isn't going anywhere anytime soon. However, there were games that just stuck out with me, and this is my top 10 countdown of PlayStation 4 games. As I just said, it's a 10-spot countdown, and we're not going to mince any more words into this. We're just going to get going with the number 10 game. Number 10. This video game involves a franchise near and dear to my heart. It's a franchise I love. It's impacted this show numerous times. Movie-wise, it's been involved in numerous movie countdowns, including one that was somewhat recent with Eric. And as soon as I just say the few words, you're going to know exactly what it is. So for those of you watching on YouTube, you can already see exactly what game it is. For those of you listening in, well, this game came out in 2014 on the PlayStation 4. Its developers were Monolith Productions. Publisher was, of course, Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, and it is Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. Now, at this point, there's been a lot of Lord of the Rings video games. I have a few. I remember getting the movie-inspired video games, which actually aren't that bad. They weren't that bad. I believe those were for either PlayStation. I believe it was PlayStation 3, maybe 2. It was one of those. I can't remember exactly. Part of me wants to say it was PlayStation 3, but I might be wrong on that. Of course, there was a more literary version of them, which is called Lord of the Rings, which was a very good game. I do believe that was PlayStation 2. It's been kind of hit or miss, but it wasn't a franchise I stayed loyal to, because there was a lot of different video games that come out, and they just didn't catch my interest. Then this thing showed up. This trailer showed up, and I was like, ooh, well, this looks interesting, and picked it up, brought it home, played it, and was completely enthralled. This game is amazing. Now, it takes place before Frodo is carrying that ring around, so none of those events have occurred, and you play as Talion. I love what they did with the orcs, this system that they did, where if you happen to die, that orc gets stronger and remembers you later on when you go to kill him or try to kill him. And, they'll talk and mock at you, and right before the battle, they'll make some quib about, hey, I killed you once, I'll kill you again. I loved it shot for some revenge. You always want to get revenge when a character kills you in a video game. Now you really want to get it because this character remembers you and is mocking the fact that they killed you. And if you lose again, they just double mock you. It just won't stop until you kill them. And I was loving where this story was going. Obviously it's a created character that, you don't know a whole lot of, but I love what they did with it, because they somehow managed to make this brand new created character fit in the lore of Lord of the Rings. It could be dangerous when you add some random new character. Mortal Kombat 2021 movie, I am talking to you. It can be dangerous creating just brand new people. This video game was able to do that right. Sequel, I own it, but I think they dropped the ball a little bit on the sequel. Sadly, I'm not as big a fan of the sequel. Played it, beat it, and was done. And I've never really gone back too much. I've tried to play it a couple of times, tried to dip back in, but I just can't get myself to fully play it. Unlike Shadow of Mordor, which I can dip into and play many different times, it is truly an enjoyable game. And it does hurt me putting this at number 10, but damn it, there's been so many good games for the PlayStation 4. That era truly was, each era just keeps getting better. Still waiting on PlayStation 5 to give me a little more, because PlayStation 5, let's be honest, the only brand new games I've played on there is Miles Morales, and I played a little bit of Assassin's Creed, and I fucking hate that game. So number 10 is Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. Number 9. Number 9 has got a long history, just this video game series. And for those, again, on YouTube, those of you watching, you're already seeing what it is. For those of you listening in, this game came out in 2023, and it was a big game for me because I was still trying to get used to this new series, and this series is 2K, and this game is NBA 2K14. Now, I mentioned this on the previous countdown. I was huge into NBA Live. That was my video game franchise as far as basketball goes. And they lost control, and we went several years without a game. I went one full year without getting a new NBA game, waited for them to do another one, and they let me down again. And I'm like, you know what? I can't keep going years without an NBA game. And so NBA 2K11 had come out, and I didn't get it. And then I got NBA 2K12, and this is for PlayStation 3. That had Jordan on the cover. And so I was like, you know what? I got to do this. It actually had like 3 different covers. I bought the Jordan one. I'm a Bulls fan. And I have been very loyal to the 2K, but I was still trying to get used to it. Then I played 2K14. Now, I don't like LeBron James too much, and he's on the cover. And so I was expecting disappointment in this game for the dumbest of reasons, because LeBron was on the cover. But in some ways, this has become my favorite 2K games, is this particular one. This was the one that eased my nerves in getting into this franchise, and I've stayed loyal with this franchise all the way up until the most recent 2K. I didn't get it because I was in the transitional stages of getting a PlayStation 5, not having it yet. And so that game came out, and I didn't want to buy it for PlayStation 4 when I was going to be getting 5. And now I'm stuck with a PlayStation 4 game. I just didn't want to deal with all that. So I just said, look, I'm not going to get this game. I'm going to take a break off 2K. And the next 2K game, that's the one I will get for PlayStation 5. So the most recent 2K, I have never even played. But this 2K game relaxed me. 2K, NBA 2K is, I know there's some people out there who don't like this game. There's the franchise saying that it's gone the way of Madden. It's not that way yet. Going down. I don't mind admitting it's going down, but not near the level of Madden. Madden is a whole nother elephant in the room, which I'm not going to go down that little rabbit hole on this show. At least not this episode. But I love the 2K franchise, and this game really, if I could still play NBA 2K like I was back then, I would totally play it. But the problem with the 2K games is after a couple of years, they're pretty much useless. So you can't really go back and play some of these games fully like you could back in the day, like you could before, because if they started shutting these suckers down after a couple of years. So it got, these games get retired. You don't really ever dip back into them like you can do with Madden, like you can do with MLB The Show. With 2K, it's just done. It's dead. It's buried. It's gone. So this is a final swan song, I guess you could say, to NBA 2K14. My favorite PlayStation 4 2K game. It's not my favorite 2K game because that is 2K12, like I said, Jordan. But its place in this countdown is secure. NBA 2K14, even though LeBron on the cover, number 9. Number 8. Okay. For those of you who've listened to the show, obviously you know I'm a sports fan. And you already know what my favorite sport is, but for those of you who don't, it is baseball. That should already tell you what the game is, because when it comes to baseball video games, there's only one franchise, and that's the show. So which show video game is this that makes it for PlayStation 4? Number 8, MLB The Show 17. And I got the Ken Griffey one, the Ken Griffey cover one. Growing up, Ken Griffey, I wasn't a Seattle Mariners fan. My teams, I have 2 teams, one in the American League, that'd be the Boston Red Sox, one in the National League, the Atlanta Braves. Those are my 2 teams. But there are players that were on other teams that I love. Ken Griffey's one. And I said it earlier on a countdown, that previous. I mentioned Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball is one of those games I grew up playing the hell out of on a Super Nintendo. It is one of my favorite baseball games ever. And so Ken Griffey's going to be on the cover of MLB The Show. Okay. This game better not suck, because I was thinking of Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball Super Nintendo, because as far as it felt like it'd been that long since he'd been on the cover of a baseball video game. So better be good. Not only is this game good, I still play it. Now, I do have the most recent MLB The Show, and I play it, but when I dip back, this is the MLB Show game that I play. I don't know why this one connected with me so well, and I love all the MLB Show games. I did take a break. I think it was the next one I refused to buy because it had a Yankee on it, and I just couldn't. I think it was Aaron Judge. So I'm such a Red Sox. So I took a break off that one. I couldn't buy it, and shortly thereafter, we're starting to get ready to prepare for PlayStation 5, and so I took another break and didn't get the next one. And this newest MLB The Show is the first one playing on this. I pre-ordered that immediately, and I bought the big one that was about $100. And I love the hell out of it. But MLB The Show 17, just everything worked right. I love the intro, chalkboard writing, going through the history of baseball. MLB The Show is, to me, as far as sports video game franchises, to me, it's the best sports franchise. You don't hear a lot of complaints about MLB The Show. You hear a little here and there, but nothing to the degree of Madden or even 2K. MLB seems to try to always remember where they came from, and they just treat this game so much better. And for me, this was the high point, was MLB The Show 17. Hasn't quite topped it, although this new one is so damn good. The fact that I still will dip back and play MLB The Show 17. In fact, I played it just a week ago. I just happen to love this game. There's just something about MLB The Show 17 that continues to stick with me. Sometimes I'll even go back and play MLB The Show 14, but it's 17 that sticks out. And to me, 17 is, to me, the greatest baseball video game ever, is MLB The Show 17. There was just something about this game that the stars aligned and everything worked with it, and just so enjoyable. And like I said, speaks to the fact that I still play this game. So thank you, MLB The Show 17. And may there be many more great baseball games to come. You're continuing to do a great job. Keep an eye out on 2K and Madden so you don't screw this up. You're the best sports franchise video gaming out there, as far as I'm concerned. Some may say Madden, some may say 2K, some may say FIFA, some may say or NASCAR or NHL, or there may be some of you who may still think wrestling even after that last piece of shit. For me, it's MLB The Show. So, like I said, its place is secure in this countdown. So, thank you to MLB The Show. All right, moving on. What are we at? Number 7 now? Okay. Number 7, my fandom is all over the map. There's a lot of things that people think of when they think of my fandoms. This is one of the ones people think of the absolute most. It's what I get tied to a lot, and it's one guy, one masked guy, and it's not the game. For those watching on YouTube, you already see what it is. For those of you listening in, this game came out in 2016. Telltale. That's right, Batman, the Telltale series, season 1. When I heard they were doing this game, at first I was like, okay, Telltale, why does that name seem familiar? And then I remembered CSI. CSI is one of my favorite crime investigation video games. I love the hell out of that. And I played a lot of those CSI video games. I'm trying to remember the name of my favorite. I want to say 3 Dimensions of Murder, I think is what it was called. But it was an older one, because this one still had William Peterson in it as Grissom. It's one of those older ones. And then I heard about this game. I'm like, okay, Batman Telltale. That could be interesting. And I was like, where can they go with this? I mean, this can't be like Arkham. This has got to be something different. When you're playing a Batman video game, you're Batman. Makes perfect sense to be Batman. But there is a second half to this, Bruce Wayne. And obviously, video games are not going to focus too much on Bruce. Honestly, you rarely see Bruce outside the mask. You may see him for a few scenes here, like in Arkham City, you see Bruce Wayne at the beginning for a couple of minutes, and then it's all Batman. Arkham Knight, you see Bruce outside the mask a few times, definitely. A few more times than you did in Arkham City. Arkham Asylum, basic enough. You don't really focus on Bruce. Telltale did this. They made this almost at times, you're more focused on Bruce than you are the Bat. I mean, there are instances in this game where you could choose, hey, am I going to be Batman in this situation, or am I going to be Bruce Wayne? I love the fact that this game made you pick situations like that. Plus, it also kind of made you pick which kind of a Batman you are. Are you a vicious, vile, thuggish kind of a Batman, just brutal, or are you a little more thinking? What it made you think about your investigations. This really made you that tech that we always hear about, but you don't get to see a whole lot of in some of the game, or you don't really get to see a lot of the detective aspect in the movies. This should have been just a continuation of a great franchise with Telltale doing these Batman games, and they did do a season 2. Which, Enemy Within, which is very good as well. Unfortunately, just a few years after this game, Telltale would shut down, and that was it. And it was a shame, because I'm just thinking of all the other comic book characters they could have done something with, because this is brutal. I mean, the opening moments of this game, you see somebody get shot in the head. So they weren't playing around with this. So think of what you could do maybe with a Punisher Telltale game. That would have been interesting. Spider-Man, that would have been interesting. A Superman one would have been interesting, even though I'm not a Superman guy. I can admit that still would have been interesting. So there were places they could have gone. Hulk, I could have dipped into. That would have been interesting, because you'd be focused on Banner. It's a shame that we didn't get more out of this series. We got 2 good games, and I love the second one, but the first one really is where it's at. I love that first one. And they take their own liberties with the franchise. I don't want to reveal too much, but they don't just copy what other people have done. They create their own universe, and there's things that they change around. I love what they did with Penguin, for example, Oswald Cobblepot. They completely changed him, and that's all I'm going to say. If you haven't played it, please go play it. And for those of you who've played it, you know what I mean when I say they changed this character. And this was a great Batman series. In some ways, some people may think I'm crazy when I say this. I like this game more than Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight's a beautiful game, but it was a little disappointing on some levels. This game did not just didn't. I put this right up there with Arkham Asylum. This was that level of a very great Batman game, and it's a shame that we couldn't get any more, but at least we got this one, and we did get a second season. So I strongly urge any of you who are Batman fans, comic book fans, try the Batman Telltale series. Definitely. Season 1, season 2, both very good. For me, this is talking about season 1, but season 2 was very, very good. I own both of them. So number 7, Batman Telltale series, season 1. All right. Number 6. It kind of hurts me to put this at 6, but I have my reasons. This should have been higher up. And had it not been for somebody, Ray, I don't know if you're watching this, Ray, you're the reason this dropped, and you know why. This is about a franchise that, It breaks my heart, this franchise. But for those of you on YouTube, you already can see it. This franchise I've followed this franchise for so long. I got into it a little late, but I got into it just in time when the second game was coming out. But I had to hurry up and play the first one, played it, loved it, beat it just in time for when the second one would come out. And by the way, that franchise is Assassin's Creed. This game, number 6, Assassin's Creed Origins. The Assassin's Creed franchise for me was in a little bit of trouble. I love Assassin's Creed 1. Assassin's Creed 2, perfect. I like Assassin's Creed, Brotherhood. But after that, things started to go down the rails. The swan song of Ezio and Altair, not a good game. It just wasn't. Adding tower defense in it, tower defense should not be in an Assassin's Creed. So I started getting worried. I'm like, okay, they're experimenting. And they just kept experimenting. And Unity, beautiful game. But what a piece of fucking shit. The game could not, the bugs were so rampant. And this game actually was affecting my PlayStation. It would crash it's kind of hard to describe with this, but it was literally hurting my PlayStation. And so I had to stop playing Unity. Now, thankfully, I was able to beat the game before I ended up having more damage, but I ended up having to get another PlayStation, and it was because of Unity. Somehow Unity was damaged it. It damaged it, and I couldn't play other games, and it was all Unity. I don't know why. And to this day, I tried a couple of times to play Unity again, and it would start to damage the PlayStation. It's just Unity. I don't know what's up with that game, but Unity worried me. When we get the Fry twins in, I was like, okay, this kind of saved it. And then we get eventually to Origins, which goes way back to, of course, based on the title, the Origins. And oh boy, this game is so damn awesome. It felt like an Assassin's Creed game. And this will make y'all laugh. I hate snakes. I'm like Indiana Jones. There are moments in this game that are really rough for me to get through because of those goddamn snakes that are all over. And there's one particular snake that they made a little too real. But there's cobras all over the place in this game. And they come out of nowhere and they always shock the shit out of me. And they keep giving me jump scares because I hate snakes. And they made them too damn real. Too real for my taste. But this is just an awesome, awesome game. And I know that people will hate me for this, but I don't care. The only game to come close to Assassin's Creed 2 is Origins. And I know for some of you it's Black Flag. Well, guess what? Not to me. I fucking hate Black Flag. I know for some of you that's sacrilege, but it's the truth. I just didn't like Black Flag. And part of it is, and I said it in the previous countdown, I'm not into the pirate stuff. I never have been. I don't like pirate stuff. I'm not into pirate movies. Didn't want to be a pirate. I never dressed up as a pirate as a kid. I'm not into pirates. This game was all about pirates. So it already was pissing me off there. I don't like the boat crap, which is one of the negatives of Origins, is the couple of missions you have to do on a boat. I hate it. Thankfully, it's only a couple, and then you're done with it. But Origins, I was like, okay, Assassin's Creed franchise is back. And then fucking Odyssey happened. Ugh. I still haven't beaten that game because it takes a little bit of my soul playing it every time. I just don't, it's not an Assassin's Creed game. It's only Assassin's Creed in name. And I get what's happening. They're changing it, and they're making new changes for the new Assassin's Creed game, which is Infinity, I believe they called it. And it's further down the rabbit hole for me, and it's sad that I even have to utter it, but I'm done probably with Assassin's Creed. And for me, it's sad that this franchise has changed so much. I get why they have to do it, but unfortunately, I'm one of those people. I just don't like the changes. So for me, I have the past Assassin's Creed games to look at and say that's Assassin's Creed. And thankfully for Origins, this sadly has become the swan song for the whole franchise. The last great Assassin's Creed game to me was Origins, and I couldn't say that. I wish I could say there's going to be better games in the future, but I could see where they're going with it. That's not meant for me. That's meant for other people. So I'm not ripping you people who like the new style. I'm not. It's just my personal preference. I'm old and I'm stuck in my ways. So don't hate on me too much. But Assassin's Creed Origins got it right. The last great Assassin's Creed game. I still enjoy this game greatly. One little element dropped it down, and I'm not going to dip too much into it, except it involves Final Fantasy. And for those who've played it, you know what it is. And I didn't even know Final Fantasy was involved until Ray ruined it. But Assassin's Creed Origins, love it. Number 6, Assassin's Creed Origins. Number 5. Those of you watching, pointing at it. For those who watch the YouTube page, watch the YouTube channel, you notice I wear hats. I'm a hat person. I love to wear hats. So, that's me without the hat. I'm not trying to be cool or anything. Far as number 5, for those of you watching, is on the screen right now. For those of you listening, number 5 is a game that is somewhat recent, kind of the last swan song for PlayStation 4. Came out in 2020, very new, and yet look where it is on this list. Sucker Punch, Ghost of Tsushima. Now, normally I wouldn't be into these kind of games, but I remember watching the trailer at E3, and I just thought, wow, that is a beautiful looking game. And it did something to me that I've been saying, and I've heard other people say this. Assassin's Creed, the best Assassin's Creed game they could ever do is by going to Japan. It seems so obvious to just do it, but for whatever reason, they just won't do it. They just won't do it. And I think it's kind of cowardly that they won't do it. It's so obvious. For God's sakes, we've basically seen an Assassin's Creed type game in Mordor. You put it in the United States, put it in Paris and France, you put it in Egypt, but you're scared. You put it in London, but you're scared to death to put it in Japan. It's so obvious they could do this, and yet they were so scared and just still to this day have not done it. And then Ghost of Tsushima comes around, and Assassin's Creed's chances of doing that now have been thrown away, because if you do it, now you're just copying Ghosts, which Ghosts is more than Assassin's Creed. Don't just think it's just Assassin's Creed. It is not. It's far more. In some respects, it's in a way even far better. This game is just an amazing game, and it's got some historical accuracies, at least for the first 3 minutes. And then after that, it's total bullshit. But the story you take in playing this game, the art is amazing, and it is truly one of the most beautiful games I have ever seen. It's one of those games you could really say art. Can't always say a video game is art, but this is one that is true art. And it caught me so off guard. I would tell people that I could not wait for this game, and they were like, this isn't a game you would normally play. You don't play samurai games. I'm like, you're right, I don't. In fact, I'm trying to think for this of a samurai game I played, and I'm still thinking. I'm still trying to think, because there really hasn't been one. But this game, like I said, it's just an amazing journey on the island of Tsushima, as you're playing this character who's stuck between what he was and what he is, and trying to coexist in between. And it's just an amazing journey in Jin Sakai's growth as a human being. And you get to, some of the choices you have to make. And of course, it's a violent little game as well. It does some good jobs with the violence. At times it has this Western feel almost to it, but it's amazing what they do. And plus it also has this feel of old samurai movies with like showdowns and everything. The game is just so beautiful. And it was one of the games I did download to PlayStation 5 play. And I was like, there's no way they can make this game any better. It's already beautiful. They improved it. There's a slight difference that you can still see. It's just an amazing game. And Ghost of Tsushima is one of those games that I will always play. I know it. I will always play that game. I will always be able to dip back into that game and play it fondly. Now, this became a hit. So the question is, will there be a sequel? Is this the franchise that Assassin's Creed fucked around and waited too long to deal with Japan, and now it's too late because you had all this time to do it, and now it won't mean anything if you do it now. Now it won't mean shit because you should have done it already, and you didn't. This game beat you to it and went past it. So obviously, hopefully, there will be somewhere down the line another Ghost of Tsushima game, and I will be all over it and hope they don't mess it up. Franchises have a way of messing things up somehow after they produce a hit. This is just an amazing game. It's stunningly awesome, and thank goodness this was a proper swan song for the PlayStation 4 era, was this game. And just amazing. Just a fucking awesome game. And it got switched around a little bit, and it got switched around literally at the last second. And I kind of feel bad putting it here because it's so damn beautiful. But in the end, I just had to think a little bit more and really decide, hey, this franchise has a chance to get up there, and down the line in the years, this game could move up even more. Right now, this is a nice safe spot for it. It's in the top 5. It's a nice spot. So number 5, Ghost of Tsushima. Regretting it a little bit now, but hey, just said it. It's on camera, recorded. Can't go back. Number 4. Now that this countdown's been completely obliterated because of another last-minute alteration, which happens more than you could possibly imagine. It's just this is the closest one I've had to actual recording, because literally this switch happened during the recording when I was talking about number 9. I switched it right there. So number 4. And it's fitting that this is number 4 because 4 is in the title. This is a great franchise that has had a lot more hits than misses. Thank goodness. And for those of you on YouTube, you're already seeing what it is. Listeners, number 4, Naughty Dog. That should say it right there. Uncharted 4, Thieves end. The Uncharted franchise is one of the greatest video game franchises ever. That is definitely going to have to be a countdown video game franchises, but for that one I might have to call on some backup for that one. It's been such a great franchise right from the get-go with Uncharted 1. And then you get to Uncharted 2. Uncharted 2 of the original 3 is probably the worst of the 3, and that's not an insult because it's such a damn good game. And then you get to Uncharted 3, which in some ways actually overtopped Uncharted 1. And 3 actually became my favorite Uncharted game, was the third one. It's not a rip on the first. There was just something about that third one that really stuck to me. And then they announced Uncharted 4, and I'm like, and then you see the title, A Thief's End. I'm like, uh-oh, is this the end of the franchise? Are y'all closing the shop right here? And so when you think they're going to close the shop, you wonder, okay, are they going to screw this up? Are they going to mess this up? Oh, no. They saved the best, if this is last, as far as Nathan Drake. They saved the best for last. This game, epic. It is an epic journey. If it's the swan song of Nathan Drake, quite the swan song. I don't want to reveal too much about the game. Those of you who played it, you already know what happens in it. But you get introduced to a new character. A very pivotal new character. Don't want to reveal too much about who that character is, but it's a bombshell. It's just a bombshell that this character even exists. And when you add a character like this, it could be ruining the game, but they don't do that. They don't ruin it. It actually improves the game even more. The graphics, of course, amazing, just amazing. This Uncharted 4 came out around the right. It came out at the right generation for the PlayStation 4. Another one of those games that is really just one of the greatest, not only video games for the PlayStation 4, but it is one of the greatest games in the history of PlayStation. And it's one of those that's just one of the greatest video games ever made. It's just so stunning. The story it tells is tremendous. And that's one of the great things about Uncharted is the story. It is such a huge story. I mean, a lot of people put to Indiana Jones with this, and it's an obvious comparison, but this surpasses Indy in some respects because you get more in tune with the character in this game with Nathan Drake. You learn more about Nathan Drake than you ever did about Indy. You didn't learn a whole lot about Indy until you get to the point where you have Sean Connery playing his dad, or until they had that TV show. But even then, I still think you feel and you get to learn more about Nathan Drake. And they found the right actors to play everybody, the voice actors to play everybody. It's always great to see Sully. You know, Sully is just such a great old lambasted character. And Uncharted 4: Thieves' End is just one of those classic epic video games. And just like in movies, it's rare to say epic, but Uncharted 4 is truly one of those. It's just epic. It's just gigantic. It's stunning. It's beautiful. It's again, art. This is one of those games that truly is art. And it is another one of those games I know I will always play. As a matter of fact, there are certain games I'm carrying over from PlayStation 4 and playing them on PlayStation 5. Ghost of Tsushima was the first one there's one that I'm playing right now. And once I'm done with that, the next one I'm going to play on PlayStation 5 is going to be Uncharted 4. I want to try to play that on Uncharted 4. I think it'd be an amazing game. But I could talk about Uncharted 4 all the time because I still love this game. It's just so damn stunning. It's so beautiful. It's so perfect. It has no flaws. It just does not have a single flaw. I mean, it has some funny bloopers, like at E3 when they debuted it and Nate just stood there for like 30 seconds because it was a blooper, and then they make it a trophy in the game. That's just funny. But there's just no bad parts about this game. None at all. Except maybe the fact that it may be the end of Nathan Drake. That's really the only sad part. If it is, you would rather have them end it right and end it perfectly and end it good than end it terribly, like so many franchises do. Like, for me, Assassin's Creed ended badly, very badly, But if it is, they ended this well. Part of me hopes we still get to see Nathan Drake somewhere down the line. Now, they did create a little side game, Lost Legacy. It's not a bad game. It's not a bad game, but it's not a part of the official. To me, it's not a part of the main games of Assassin's Creed or Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, and 4. It's not part of that. It's a little side story, and in between. But Uncharted 4: Thieves' End, just so damn amazing, so damn stunning. If you haven't played this game, I can't believe you haven't. It's just that damn good. So number 4 is Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Number 3. I've been pointing at this one for a while. For those of you on YouTube, I've been pointing at it. This game moved up 2 spots. This game moved up 2 spots to where it finally found its resting place. I could not put this game any higher based off the other games that are slightly above it. And once I say them, you'll understand. But this place is secure. And this, I said it, this was a game I did not expect to like. It goes against the grain. If Ghost of Tsushima goes against the grain, this really went above the grain, past the grain of where I would normally feel comfortable with a video game. But it did it in a way that is just fit me like a glove. And I play franchise now. They recently seem to be announcing a new one coming up. We'll see if that game happens. But for those of you watching on the YouTube, you already see what it is. For those of you listening in, massive entertainment, Ubisoft, Tom Clancy's. Now, I got into the Division late, which sometimes happens. I am a fan. I don't think this is. I don't think this is a bothering or anything. I like the Angry Joe show, and shouts out to Angry Joe. I love that show. Just a great show. I don't always agree with everything he says, but I sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But he entertains me, and he does bring up some very good points as well. I watched his review of the division of Tom Clancy's The Division, and I looked at it and I thought, he's kind of ripping this, but it kind of looks fun. It looks like a good game. Is it really this bad? And I kept looking at it, and I'm like, and I would look at, I looked at the trailer, I looked at people playing it, and I'm like, this doesn't look that bad. Is it really this bad? And so finally I just said, you know what? The hell with this. I'm going to go buy it. And I went and bought it. And I was enthralled with The Division. This game is just so cool. I got into the world of The Division. And I don't do the gaming, when you put a headset on and you're gaming with people all over the world. Up until this point, I'd never even done it. Never. This game introduced me to that. I didn't even own a headset before this game. Didn't own one. Not a gaming one. I had one for work because I'm a call center rep, and at the time I worked at home, like I do now, and I had my own headset. So I had that kind of a headset, but I never had a gaming type of one. This is the game that introduced me to that, and I made some friends on gaming through The Division because that was the game that they played, was The Division. And these are people I still talk to. Not as much as I would like, but I still talk to them. And they made me a better player of The Division. They would probably say I suck, but they were very patient with me and helped me to get a little better at The Division and to truly understand it, because there were aspects I just wasn't getting. They helped me through it. And now, I'm on those headsets at least once, feels like once or twice a week now, whether it's just talking to other people who they're playing their own game, I'm playing my own game, or we're all playing the same game. Sometimes it's The Division. Sometimes it's The Division 2. It can kind of vary. Sometimes it's Madden, or, it can be different types of games. But The Division really opened my eyes to a different level of gaming. And that's what, in the end, raises this up. Is this went so above the grain of what I normally play. And this changed my gaming life in a way because of the online aspect, because that was something I had never had to deal with. And I know there's people who argue about which game is better, the Division 1, the Division 2. Each games have their own quirks that make one better than the other. I enjoy them both. I love playing them both. These are both games that I will always treasure and play. I'm currently playing right now, of course, Division 2, because there's so much content that they still add in, so I can still keep playing that. Division 1 doesn't quite have that, unfortunately. So you're going back, you're doing things you've already done, but it's still fun. And there's supposedly going to be Division Heartland, so we'll see if that really happens. Either way, I'll be there and I'll buy it. But it all got started with The Division. The story in The Division 1 is better than the story in Division 2, I will say that. And that's one of the big aspects that sometimes can be lost on a game, is its story. And to me, Tom Clancy's The Division 1 really impacted that story and kept impacting the story. I love this game. This game, there's a channel that I follow, and it's because of this game. This game made me follow a channel because I loved them talking about The Division. One of the great things about doing this countdown was I finally get to talk about The Division because I love the game so damn much. I mentioned her earlier, Ray. Ray got into The Division. She was just like me. She had never played The Division. She saw me playing it. She got into The Division. So, and she has The Division too. So, and we would play The Division constantly. Play The Division 2 a lot as well. She hasn't dipped into Division 2 as much as she did 1, but this has just been a great franchise, and it all started with this one game that I got into late and started from Angry Joe kind of ripping it a little bit, but I saw past it, and what I looked at was a very entertaining looking game, and turned out it was more than that. It was a very great game, and one of those instances that, to me, Angry Joe was wrong on this one. It happened, and it's just a matter of number 3, moved up a couple of spots. I may regret it later, but in the end, I know I did the right thing, putting The Division at number 3. Oh boy, the runner up. What was the runner up in this? I mentioned games that switch over to PlayStation 5, and this one has that element of a game that switched over because it's connected to another game. That's kind of a big clue. Probably already know what it is. For those on YouTube, you're seeing it. For those of you listening in, Insomniac Games put this masterpiece together. The runner-up, just barely, from 2018, Marvel's Spider-Man. Spider-Man video games had been kind of stuck in a lull. They've been stuck in a lull because the same company was producing Spider-Man games. Now, that's not a rip because some of them were good. You know, the Spider-Man movie games, the first couple, okay. The first couple were actually good. The third one, just like the movie, sucked. And then, of course, their side project video games that they did with Spider-Man. Some of them were good. Some of them were not. When we look upon great Spider-Man games, the one that gets mentioned is Spider-Man 2. And there's a good reason for that. It was that damn good. It really, really was. It was the first of the Spider-Man games that got the swinging right. That made me feel it was the first game that I really felt like Spider-Man in. No other game had been able to really do that. That was the first one. And then we get into the Amazing Spider-Man era, and things really got muddled. Now, a lot of people don't like those two games. I actually like the first one, just like I like the first movie. Unfortunately, it was the second one where things went to shit. And they lost control, and that one was a steaming, stinking pile of shit. So when we get to this, it's like, all right, let's see what they can put together. And when I first saw the costume with the white spider, there we go, the white spider, I don't like it, but I wasn't going to make me not play this game, that white spider. Then, looking at the trailers, I'm like, this looks really, really good. This looks really, really, really good. And then I bought it, played it, and it's like, wow, this game, finally, a Spider-Man game that envelops you, makes you finally feel like not just Spider-Man, but Peter Parker. It makes you both. It makes you feel like you're both. Now, there have been some that made you feel very good as Spidey, but not quite as Pete. Some that did good as Pete, but not as good as Spidey. Some that did a pretty good job at both a little bit, but for some reason, the stars were aligned for this game. It is a tremendous game that Marvel fans should feel very proud of, because when it came to superhero video games, let's be honest, Marvel a lot more misses than hits, and its hits didn't hit high level. There was only a couple, and one of them is Spider-Man 2, but let's be honest, that was a long ass time ago. This game is so beautiful. We all cannot wait for Spider-Man 2, and it kind of made Miles Morales a little bit of a disappointment because this game was so damn good. I'm not saying Miles Morales isn't a good game. It is. It wasn't as good as this. Now, Miles Morales is the only physical copy of PlayStation 5 games that I own. Everything else I have there is downloaded. And of course, when you get the Ultimate War version, you get this. And they changed Peter Parker's look. I hate that, by the way. I hated they did that. But the game is still fun. And they improved on the look. And the look of the original was already fine. And they made the look better, except for what they did with Peter Parker's look. But Marvel's Spider-Man, they finally got a very good Spider-Man game. The web slinging in this game is just so damn. And I mentioned her earlier before, Ray. Ray got the Spider-Man game we used to be roommates. She would watch me play this game and she would watch me web sling. And she just said, that looks fun. And so I handed her the controller and she tried the web. She just was web slinging all over the place. She wasn't doing missions, just web swinging all over town. She loved it and eventually got her own game. So she now has Spider-Man. Like I said, this game just absolutely stunning. When I had to buy a second PlayStation 4 because I had all the memory was filled up with the first one I had, and when I added the new game, I had to get rid of an older game. And I got tired of doing that. So I got another PlayStation 4. I got it around Christmas time, and they were selling them pretty cheap. This was a Spider-Man pack, and it comes with Spider-Man. And I'm like, I already have it. Now I have two, which I still do. I have two of those Spider-Man games. My original one and the one that came with the new PlayStation 4 that I had to buy, which has a lot more memory. That game has never been opened. It is still in its plastic. I don't know what I'll ever do with it, but still there, so it still works. Disc's never been played. It's never been touched. But Spider-Man, amazing job. Great game, awesome game. I wish Miles Morales had been better. Miles is kind of a downgrade, and it's a shame. I had some high hopes for that game, and it's not as good. It's good, but it's not as good as this one. Miles is shorter. It's too short. I mean, the replay value on it is kind of low because in the first run through, I did everything, and I didn't even realize I did everything. But I did. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not good. That's not good. I did it all already. There's nothing left. But this game just so beautiful. And it also creates its own world and with its story. Again, story. And New York City has never looked better. New York, I mean, there's things that are a little inaccurate as far as where they are and the placings and what's around them. But that you can ignore that. It's a video. And I'll just say the ending caught me off guard. I did not expect what would occur. I'm not going to blow it. And I might have gotten a little watery, but that's because, I'd just been maced. But great game. Spider-Man. Marvel's Spider-Man earns its spot. Now you understand why the Division couldn't quite beat this game out. This was just too damn good a game. I have no complaints on Spider-Man. It earns its spot. It's the runner-up. Oh, boy. Number one. What on earth could possibly be my all-time favorite PlayStation? I mean, there's a lot of places I could have gone with. A lot of great video games out. But before I dip into what ended up being my number one, which some of you out there probably who know me probably already know what it is. Fact that I haven't said this game yet probably tipped my hand a bit too much, but that happens sometimes. But before I get to what is numero uno, I'm going to do just a quick little review on how we got here. Number 10 was Shadow of Mordor. Number 9 was NBA 2K14. 8 was MLB The Show. 17. Number 7 was Batman, the Telltale Series, Season 1. Number 6 was Assassin's Creed Origins. Number 5 was Ghost of Tsushima. Number 4 was Uncharted 4, Thieves' End. Number 3, The Division. And number 2 was Marvel's Spider-Man. Now, what is number 1? Again, some of you already knew this was going to be number 1. Some of you, this just is not going to be that big of a surprise. Some of you, it's like, I don't know why you're having all this drama. We already know what number 1 is. We know you too well. Know you better than you know yourself. So without further ado, for those of you on YouTube, for those of you watching, you already knew it was going to be this. Come on. There was no doubt as to what it was going to be. For those of you listening, some of you already know what this is. It's Santa Monica Studios, God of War from 28. Come on, y'all know I love my God of War. God of War is one of the greatest video game franchises ever. Again, pointing to this video game franchise countdown I'm going to have to do, which I'm going to try to find some extra help. So it's maybe, try to have somebody else do that countdown with me. It is just a huge franchise, and it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth with that last one, which name shall not be mentioned, that came after God of War 3. God of War 3 just being so damn epic, so awesome. And we heard about this game. And I was excited just because I'm like, what has Kratos been doing? Where is he at in his life? And then you see he has a kid. And I'm like, oh boy, okay. And then you get the idea that the kid's going to be traveling around with you. I'm like, oh, it's a companion character. Oh no. Because there are some games where you have a companion that it's not pretty. this game was not. Boy, holds his own, and he doesn't become a nuisance in the bad way. He's a nuisance at times, but in the understandably good way. This game, Cory Baldock, I watched a video of him when he recorded himself looking at the reviews of the game, and the joy in you could see all over his face. He teared up. I almost teared up, man, because you could tell that he put a lot of him. He just put everything he could, and everyone around him put everything they could into this game, and you could see it. And once again, I'm saying the word epic and art. This game is just so amazing. And I have to try to keep this short because I could talk about God of War for so long. This takes place, of course, years after the events of God of War 3, in which he destroyed the Pantheon and wreaked havoc and killed them all. And it's a different Kratos, which could be risky. It's not the young, angry, full of rage Kratos anymore. He's a little bit more mellow. A little. For him, he's got a kid, of course, and the game starts out with him getting a pyre built for his, unfortunately dead wife. Another one, but at least he didn't kill this one. This one he didn't kill, and it sucks you up right from the get-go. And the music, which has always been a big part of God of War. I've loved the soundtrack for God of War, and new soundtrack, new music, and it's awesome. This game in every way, shape, or form surpassed my expectations. I was worried about the game, but my God, once I played it, I could not stop. And there's some moments in that game that dipped me back into that old school rage of getting mad at a game, like when I played God of War 1, the original, and I was fighting Ares and I just kept dying. There's a couple of moments in this game. Valkyrie, yeah, that was rough. Finally, the Valkyrie are just a bitch. Pardon the pun. But this game it made the game better because I was getting angry for a good reason, because the game was so enjoyable and it was tough. It wasn't easy. And like I said, I could talk about this game all damn night. It's just so damn amazing. Of course, now we have everything about God of War Ragnarok, and I'm worried about the game just because I'm afraid they'll go the inevitable route of killing Kratos. And the second they do that, I'm done. I don't want to dip past that. And I don't want them doing that. I don't want to do that for the boy. And they revealed some things at the end of this game, the boy's name, for example, and just the story arc of both characters. Just a lot gets revealed at the very end of this game, and you wonder, oh boy, did they just tell me what's going to happen in the next game? So I'm hoping they don't kill Kratos in the next game. It would really piss me off if they do. I know as a story-wise why they would want to do that, but for me, you can't do God of War without Kratos. You just can't. Even the bad one, which is more like bad one, because there's really only been one. I can't imagine that game without Kratos. So I'm still going to get God of War Ragnarok regardless. I'm just hoping in my playing that I don't see what I don't want to see. But God of War, amazing, stunning, epic. Once again, Ray got into this game. She got God of War, even though she has never played the ones before it. Even though she owns them, she doesn't play them, which frustrates the hell out of me. You own them, and yet you won't friggin' play them. That just irritates me. So, but God of War earned its spot. It was obvious. God of War was going to be number one. Come on. It was so obvious God of War was going to have this spot. So there we go. That's your countdown. God of War takes the number one spot, and most of you already knew it was going to. So what do you think? What's your countdown? What are your favorite PlayStation 4 video games? What'd you think of mine? Did I forget some? Did I misorder a few things? Let me know. There's a few ways you can let me know, and a few ways you can listen in on the show. If you happen to catch in a little late, you can send me an email at thecountdown2020@gmail.com. Let me know what you think. If you have a countdown idea, please let me know. You can email them to me. I will take any countdowns and give you the prop for giving me the idea. You can go onto the Facebook page. You can do the same thing. Just search at the Countdown 2020 Podcast 1. Give me your ideas. You can also click on the link to listen to the show on there. If you have your own countdown you want to share, you can do it right there. You can also go on Twitter. Just search at the Countdown PO1. Really want to push that Twitter because the Twitter doesn't get used that much and don't see a lot of hits happening over there. So please jump onto the Twitter. You can listen to the show on Spotify. Just search the Countdown 2020. That's, of course, for listening. I'm also on Instagram. See a little more activity on that one. Just search the Countdown 20. There's a link to listen to the show. You can give me your ideas, give me your own countdown right there. You can listen to the show on Amazon Audible. Just search the Countdown Podcast. And of course, I've said it before, I'm on YouTube. Got the YouTube channel. Just search the Countdown Podcast with MJ Book. And of course, all episodes are available through Podbean. Just search on Podbean, the Countdown Podcast, or you can go directly to the Podbean, my website on Podbean, where you have the archive to all my episodes. Just on that, it's the countdown2020.podbean.com. That you have the archive and can even listen to all the episodes of the Countdown. All episodes available through Podbean. Please like, listen, follow, subscribe. This show continues with your assistance, with your involvement, and I love it. And I love every time I go and see somebody new listening in. When I take a look at people listening in from many different parts of the world, that still stuns me. So I was on the other day and I saw that somebody was in France listening in, so that was cool. I do want to thank that listener as well, by the way. I don't know if you're listening right now, but do want to thank you. So please like, listen, follow, subscribe. And if you're a fan of Third Generation Wrestling, I always mention these guys because they're my brothers and my please listen to Third Generation Wrestling if you're a fan of professional wrestling, with your hosts, the Real Big E Eric and the Ambassador Rob, talking all things wrestling. Also do reviews on wrestling related movies and some that are not wrestling related, like Mortal Kombat. There's countdowns that occur on there as well, talking pay-per-views, whether it's AEW, whether it is NXT, whether it's a retro, WWE, of course. They're definitely the show, and we have a big trip coming in for wrestling later. I'm not going to blow all of it because I'm sure that's going to get mentioned on his show. So please listen to Third Generation Wrestling. They're available on pretty much all the avenues that I mentioned for myself. Search them out. And do want to thank Income Tech and Kevin McLeod for the royalty-free music Ice Flow that you hear at the beginning and the end. I've had that theme from the beginning, and I just love having that song. And that's all I got for you. So I will catch you all again on the next episode of The Countdown. Have yourself a great day or evening, whatever time it is. Have a good. Bye-bye.